Hello everyone. In this session, we are going to understand the concept of data encapsulation. Now, this concept is one of those four basic concepts of object-oriented programming language. One is data encapsulation and polymorphism, inheritance, and the fourth one is abstraction. So these four principles are called as the basic principles of object-oriented programming, out of which this is the one which we are going to see in this session, and other three principles also we'll see in the subsequent sessions. So data encapsulation is also called as data hiding. We are trying to hide the data, that is the member variables of our class, from other classes. Now there are various reasons for that. Again, let us try to understand this concept by taking the example. Let us create a class called as classroom. Okay, so let me create a class called as classroom. And in this class, I'm going to create two member variables called as a string, subject. What is the subject of the classroom, and number of students. So I'm going to create an integer called as students count. Okay, and then I'm going to create a simple method that will display the details of the classroom. So public void display details, and I'm going to create a simple sysout. So it will say this is a ABC classroom and it has XYZ number of students. So for example, it's a math classroom and it has 50 students. Okay, so simple class with two member variables and a method. Now let us create another class with a main method. Let's call it as classroom main. And let's select this public static void main to create a main method. And over here, yes, let's create the object of classroom class. Say cs1 is equal to new classroom, and using this cs1 object, let us set the value of subject is equal to say math, and cs1 dot number of students is equal to say 50, and cs1 dot let us say display details. Okay, so we have a class called as classroom, and this is a template. As we know, a class is nothing but a template, a blueprint, which will be used to create the object. So other classes can use it to create the object of this class and use the features of this class, use the intelligence that is built inside this class. And likewise, we have another class which is using the intelligence inside the classroom class. Okay, so now as long as we are running this, it is fine. It will simply set the values for subject and students count, and then when the method is called, it will display the details as it is a math classroom and it has 50 students. So far so good. Now what happens is, over the period of time, let us assume that the classroom class, it's my class, and it has been used by 50 other classes. Okay, other people. So whatever variables and methods I'm creating in my classroom class, people are using it in their classes by making the object of classroom class. Okay, now what I do is, one day I feel like changing the name of the member variables of my class. Okay, it's my class, so I can update it whenever I want. So what I thought of is just changing the string subject to just sub. Okay, make it shrink, and students count to just std count, something like this. And wherever I'm using these variables in my class in the methods, I can change there also. So what I do is I change it wherever it is required in my class. Now, but what happens is, other people, other classes who are using my class, who are creating the object of my class in their work, they start to get failures. They start to see the compilation errors. Over here, they are trying to use the subject and the students count variables directly. This is the direct access of the variables. The variables subject and student count, those variables were getting accessed directly. So this is the one issue. Now, whenever I'm changing the variables of my class, all others and we were assuming that 50 other people are using, or 50 other classes are using these variables directly, so they also have to make the changes in their classes. So this is increasing the maintenance and causing issues to others. So there are two issues in this case. Whenever I make changes to my variable names, then others who are accessing my variables directly, they also need to change the names. That is one issue. And other issue is I'm exposing these variables directly to the outside classes. Other classes are directly able to see what variables I'm using, and they are able to directly access the data and set the data into the member variables of my class. Because this is not a very good programming practice where you're exposing your member variables of your class to the outside classes. So to counter these two issues, what we do is, at the first place, we do not allow accessing the member variables directly. We say that if you want to access it, we will create you some other measures, other methods. You cannot access the member variables directly. So what is the best way to do that? Make them private. The best way to do that is make them private. So private string sub and private int student count. So this will resolve my first issue. No one will be able to access them directly, because when you make a variable or a method as private, we know that the scope is limited to the class itself. It cannot be used anywhere else but inside the same class. Okay, that resolved my first issue, that now I'm not exposing my class level variables to the outside world. But now, how should I allow others to access them, even indirectly? Because still, I want other classes, when they create the object of my class, I want them to set the data and get the data from my variables. So that can be done by using getters and setters. So not directly, but indirectly, we can allow others to access the values or to set the values from the member variables of the class. So we can create some getters and setters. How to create getters and setters? Simply right click and go to source, and then from there go to generate getters and setters over here. Right click on the class and then go to source and then go to generate getters and setters, and when you click over here you will see a window where you will see the member variables of your class. When you expand the tree, you will see like get and set, get and set. So every get is a getter, every set is a setter. So for now I'll select everything and click OK, and you will see 4 methods got created. When you see the first method, that is get sub, which is just returning the value of sub, that is subject. So if a user uses this method, what it is going to return, or what a user is going to get, is the value inside the sub variable. It's a getter. Another getter, public int get student count. What it is going to return? Student count, the value inside the student count. So indirectly we are allowing others to get the value from these variables. And also there are 2 setters got created where we are allowing others to set the values to the member variables. Like whatever is the value from the sub, that will get set into the sub variable of this class. To avoid the confusion in between the method level sub and the class level sub, we use this keyword. So the value from the argument sub gets assigned to the sub variable of this class. And similarly for student count. So using these getters and setters, the other classes can still access the value or set the value into the member variables of my class. Now we can control what getters to create or what setters to create. For example, let me go over there again, source and generate getters and setters. So over there I can control, like for example, I want to just allow the get access to the student count, and I just want to allow the set access to the subject. It's up to me. So we can allow what level of access we want to specify. So for my variable, I just want to allow them to get the value, not set the value. So I will just create a getter, not setter, something like that. Okay, for now I will have everything created over here, and we can see those 4 getters and setters created. Now when other classes uses getters and setters, they are not going to face the issue when I change the name of the variables in my class. How? In this case, by using the CS1 object, let us set the subject. So instead of using the subject variable directly, CS1 object will use set subject. So subject is math in this case, and CS1 dot set student count, say 50. So what's happening? Say math and 50 are getting assigned to the subject and student counts variables of the classroom class, but not directly, but indirectly. So the program is going to get executed in the same way. We are going to get the same result, but the benefit is we are not exposing the variables directly. Any class apart from this cannot access these variables directly. And second benefit is if I change the name of the variables, it is not going to get affected to others, because others are not using the variable names directly. They are using the getters and setter methods. So let's do that change. Let us say I make it sub to sub1 and student count to student count 1. So when I change it in my class, I need to change in all the methods of my class wherever they are used. So I will go ahead and make that change. Okay, so I updated these variables wherever required in my class, and see, it is not causing any failure in the classroom main method. When others are using the member variables to access data or set data, when they access it indirectly through these getters and setters, any change to the names in my class, it will not affect any failure to them. So it will resolve the second issue also. And these methods, these small getters and setters, they look like small capsules, and inside them we have the data. So they kind of look like small data capsules, and this concept is called as data encapsulation or data hiding, where the actual data is hidden in these wrapper methods. Small methods look like capsules, and that's why it's called as data encapsulation. Okay, so two things: how to create getters and setters. Right click, go to source and generate getters and setters, and you can control what getters to create and what setters to create, and depending upon that, others can access or set the values to the member variables of your class. Very important concept and very easy. Again, this is the concept that is asked in the interviews as well many times. Thank you so much for watching this video, and if you have any questions, let me know in the comments.